3 minutes after 12. Before we get stuck into the next conversation, just another bit of context. So a chap called Paul Donovan is the chief economist at UBS Global Wealth Management. So, I mean, you know, these are the people that really have to know what they're talking about. And he sends out a morning comment, I think every day or every Monday. And this is what he had to say today. The global signals from the UK's mini budget matter. Modern monetary theory has been taken into a corner by the bond markets and beaten up. Advanced economy bond yields are not supposed to soar the way UK gilt yields rose. This also reminds investors that modern politics produces parties that are more extreme than either the voter or the investor consensus. Investors seem inclined to regard the UK Conservative Party as a doomsday cult. I don't think that people like that use language like this ordinarily. A doomsday cult. That's the sort of thing I've been saying for years about this lot. And now you have the chief economist of the UBS Global Wealth Management saying exactly the same thing. That's what I talked about earlier when I was talking about fairies. They honestly just believe that they can somehow believe reality different. They can believe things that don't exist into existence. They can believe things that do exist out of existence. They believe things better. And where did all that begin? Where did we first see politicians of whom we thought we knew better? Suggesting that you can actually believe your way into a different reality, an alternative reality. Yep, you got it. It was Brexit. And it is to Brexit now that we return, because there is a remarkable story unfolding. It was on the front page of the Sunday Times yesterday, suggesting that Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng, in their pursuit of growth, will need to see more. I can't believe we're doing this already. Do you remember when we talked about liberty of motion? Do you remember liberty of motion? I said to you that eventually, in order to replace the holes left in our workforce by freedom of movement, they will have to bring back freedom of movement, but give it another name. And that name I suggested would be liberty of motion. I also suggested to you not long ago that eventually so many sectors would have been given a special dispensation to attract foreign workers that we would have liberty of motion in all but name. And of course, the big difference between freedom of movement and liberty of motion is that liberty of motion doesn't apply to you or your children. They will not have freedom to move. And in fact, the people that we will almost be begging to come here are probably going to be offered a form of second-class citizenship anyway, because otherwise they're going to have all sorts of problems with their base. So Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng believe that they need to make changes to the shortage occupations list to recruit more overseas staff. They're also contemplating a loosening of the English language requirement in some sectors. You remember the racist element of Brexit? I just stress again, because I think it is important, even if people persist in misrepresenting you. I think it is important to be clear about this. Not everybody who voted for Brexit was racist, but I'm yet to meet a racist who didn't vote for Brexit. It's a crucial distinction that. There is a big difference between saying everybody that voted for Brexit is racist to saying every racist I've ever met, and God knows I meet a lot, and not as many as I used to, though. But anyway, they all loved Brexit. And you remember Farage talking about people speaking foreign on trains? There it is there. They are talking about loosening the English language requirement in some sectors to enable more foreign workers into the country. And also changes, which I told you would have to happen because I have the privilege of talking to real people every day. You speak to a farmer that can't get his turkeys plucked or his crops picked. What are they going to do? They're going to wait for a new generation of British school leavers to come out of school with a deep ambition to pluck turkeys? I don't know. Maybe that's the plan. But until that happens, who's going to pluck the turkey? I should use a different figure of speech here because I could have a terrible verbal accident if I'm not careful with all this talk of turkey plucking. Crops picking, that's a bit easier. Who's going to pick the crops? You need actual people to pick the crops. Seasonal workers, there's a cap of about 30 to 40,000. Hospitality is going to need something, I think. Everybody in hospitality tells me that they're not operating at full capacity. They've come out of lockdown, desperate to start those wheels turning again, and yet they can't get the bodies. They cannot get the staff to do it. Downing Street sources said the government was not advocating an increase in immigration, but changes to the mix. And there's a quote, that will involve increasing numbers in some areas and decreasing in others. What areas are you going to decrease it in? As the Prime Minister has made clear, we also want to see people who are economically inactive get back into work. So here is the politics of it. I think logic demands that we start trying to attract more people to this country than are currently coming here. Oddly, the numbers suggest that Brexit hasn't actually reduced immigration much. It's just, in a sense, seen people come from countries that are not European anymore. So you remember the calls we used to get from people telling us they were going to vote for Brexit or they supported Brexit because of all the brown faces behind the tills in their local Tesco. They have got the exact opposite of what they said they were voting for. The precise and polar opposite of what they said they were voting for. People told me that they had voted for Brexit because there were too many Muslims in this country, without acknowledging, it would appear, or understanding that there aren't any Muslim countries in the European Union. But we are now attracting people from other countries outside the European Union on a scale that has never been seen before. So that bit has failed, and we still need more. The social care sector needs to fill 105,000 posts. There's a shortfall of 40,000 nurses, at least 100,000 HGV drivers. They stand up in the House of Commons and boast about high employment, boast about full employment. Johnson started it. Truss has continued it. They don't mention the fact that 2 million job vacancies were advertised last month. There are 2 million vacant jobs. And there are very, very few people registered unemployed who want these jobs. People have stepped back from the workplace. They've taken a lifestyle choice. They've changed, and some of them, of course, are very poorly. Some of them are too ill to work, but they still get counted in some of these numbers. So there are two camps now emerging in the Conservative cabinet. On the one side, you've got the people who've just tanked the pound and trashed our economy, saying that we need more immigration. And yet, probably on this occasion, having a point. And then on the other side, you've got the ones who are probably right also when they say, well, we're the party of Brexit. We're going to annoy all the racists that voted for Brexit and for us if we actually have to start increasing immigration. Just think about that for a minute. That is a distillation of a country on its knees. Right? The people in power are arguing with each other over immigration because half of them know that they need the racists in order to sustain power, and the other half know that they need foreign workers to come here in order to have a wing and a prayer of the sort of economic growth that the country is in desperate need of. Here's the mad bit. Are you ready for this? I don't think you're ready for this. I think if you're driving, you better pull over or something. Or maybe sit down. Because this is huge. This is one of the maddest things that's ever happened in British politics. Because they're both right. Increase immigration, you will alienate all the racists who propelled Brexit over the line and the Tories into power. Don't get more foreign workers into this country, and you will jeopardise any chance at all of the sort of economic growth that the country needs to see. How mad is that? Just think about how mad that is for a minute. They're both right. So you've got Kemi Badenoch, Suella Braverman on one side saying no to immigration. We don't want any more immigrants. Don't point out their own family past. That ship has sailed. I think it's relevant. They don't. So, on we go. So you've got that branch of the cabinet arguing against immigration because they are also the ones that call themselves anti-woke, which, as we've established on this programme, quite often means sympathetic to racist sensibilities. So they know that if you actually increase immigration, if these numbers, these visa restrictions come down, then the racists are going to be furious. And the thing you have to remember about racism politically is that it is self-harm. It is self-inflicted damage. It is a bigotry, a prejudice, a hatred that transcends self-interest. You hate that foreign person even more than you care about your own interests or your children's futures. That's why Brexit happened, because you were persuaded, not you personally, but people were persuaded to hate the foreigner, the person speaking a foreign language on a train. The people in Farage's despicable posters, you were persuaded to hate those people, those non-existent mythical people, more than you cared about your own future, your own interests, your own economic welfare. That's how you pull it off. So they are right, Braverman and Badenoch, and to a lesser extent, I think Rees-Mogg, who's sort of wobbling between the two positions. That there it is. They are right. You will alienate a huge swathe of your racist base if you increase immigration, if you change the politics, the policies to make it easier for people to come here from overseas. But on the other hand, Kwarteng and Truss are right, that if you've got 2 million vacancies in an economy that's crying out for growth, and you do not have people here who are prepared to fill those vacancies, then you have to do something to tempt people from somewhere else to come here. So they are right as well. I'm going to level with you. I hadn't worked that out before I started talking. So it's rather shot the fox of whatever question it was that I was intending to ask you. I hadn't realised that they're both right. I mean, in many ways, they're both wrong. But in the clearest way, they're both right. They know they're going to alienate the racist base by increasing immigration. They know they can't possibly generate growth in a country with 2 million job vacancies and nowhere near enough people here to fill them unless they get people in from overseas. So what the hell am I going to ask you now? We've already done our Marvin Gaye topic for the day, haven't we? We've already had our what's going on. It's 14 minutes after 12. I don't know what to ask you. What do you think? Should I say, who's going to win? Who's going to win? Who's going to win? The anti-immigration lot in the current Conservative cabinet or the pro-immigration lot? As a Brexit voter, half of you told me that you just wanted controlled immigration. You didn't care what the overall numbers were. You just wanted more rules and regulations. The other half told me you categorically wanted fewer people to come here. But remember, everybody knew exactly what they were voting for, even as they voted for two completely different things. It was absolutely condescending and outrageous to suggest that there was no earthly way both camps were going to get what they wanted. So there it is. There it is. Braverman and Badenoch are correct. This will alienate racist support. And okay, if you find racism an uncomfortable badge to wear, let's just say anti-immigration then. Of course it will. If you're anti-immigration and they're saying we need more immigration, you're going to be very cross. But Kwarteng and Truss are right as well when they say we're in a country with 2 million job vacancies. If we can't get people to come here from somewhere else, we're never going to have the growth that we keep promising and talking about. I haven't got a topic. Let's see what happens. Okay, the number you need is 0345 6060 973. All right, if you hit the numbers now, you will get through. I've just described to you what I think is an irrefutable reality of British politics. You have a cabinet divided into two camps that are both correct but are disagreeing. Can you do that? Can you both be correct and yet contradict each other? It's like a political conundrum, this. It's like a sort of riddle. You've got two camps in the Conservative cabinet that are both correct and yet they are completely opposed to each other. Give me a call and say something intelligent on 034 or even just mildly amusing on 0345 6060 973. Listen, if you need a proper hook to hang on a contribution, then just go for something like, how the hell is this going to play out? What does this tell us about modern Britain? What does it say about Brexit? One cabinet, one party, two camps, both correct, completely opposed to each other. Do you know, it's almost beautiful now when you think about it as a sort of philosophical construct or as a rhetorical flourish. Two camps, one cabinet, both correct, both completely opposed to each other. Go on, make some sense of that for me now. On 0345 6060 973 is the number you need. And remember, the people who are desperately trying to get here, the people who are risking life and limb and handing over their life savings in the hope of coming here to get a job and build a better life, we're deporting them to Rwanda.